The day after Jesus' baptism by John in the Jordan, John saw Jesus walking by and said to two of his own disciples, "Behold, this is the Lamb of God." The two picked up their things and followed behind Jesus. Jesus noticed them following, turned to them, and said, "What is it you're looking for?" The disciples asked Jesus where he was staying. Jesus replied, "Come and see." The disciples followed Jesus to that place and stayed with him all day. Gathering his disciples around him, he began to teach them, saying, "You are my disciples. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart."
Since the very beginning of his papacy, Pope Francis has brought us back to basics and pointed us back to Jesus, the Lamb of God, inviting the whole world to come and see Jesus where he is present among us. Months after his election, Francis spoke to the crowds of young people gathered at World Youth Day. Francis told the young people that when they left that immense gathering, he expected them to make a mess. Francis said to them, "I want a mess in the diocese. I want people to go out. I want the church to go out to the street. I want us to defend ourselves against comfortableness and being shut in ourselves. The parishes, the schools, the institutions exist to go out." For Francis, following Jesus is to come and see him where he is today in the world.
On a Sunday afternoon, Mary, a middle-aged white woman from a local parish, knocked on the front door of a downtown Catholic worker hospitality house. She had heard about the weekly afternoon gathering for food and fellowship from a friend from church, who invited her to come and see. Mary was greeted warmly at the door by a local college student, who volunteers regularly at the house. The student took Mary's potluck contribution of salad and ushered her through the door and began to introduce her one by one to the people gathered there, which included 4 men and 3 women who were homeless, 2 of whom were newly married. 2 men from the neighborhood who were underemployed but enjoyed the company and who offered skills to help their neighbors, a sister and priest from a local parish, a Pentecostal minister, a Monsignor from the local cathedral, a group of college students on a service trip, and a young adult farmer from the local urban farm collective. During the meal, Mary struck up a conversation with the sister. The sister had learned a deep lesson about discipleship while visiting with a community of indigenous mariners who passed on the craft of sailing from generation to generation. The master navigators, she said, would train those coming after them. She went on, saying, "I asked the master navigator how he chose the ones to train. He told me that they would choose a young person who was perhaps 5 or 6 years old, who showed promise for sailing, and the young apprentice would sit with the navigator, watching and listening and learning." Mary looked surprised. "How long would the training last?" she asked. The sister replied, "For her whole life. If the apprentice died before the master, he or she would never navigate the boat." Discipleship is much like that, a lifetime vocation. Mary realized that each person gathered there at the house had to come and see their neighbors, to meet the Lord, and to follow him in the lifelong adventure of serving and loving one another.